Hello students, today we're going to learn how to make a pinboard and attach up to 5 images on there. And what I have done already is I've opened the 5 images that I want you to use from my Q drive. First we need to go to File, New, and we're going to create something that is 16 by 12 inches and 300 resolution. We're going to add a new layer. And in this new layer, we're going to use this rectangular marquee tool and just draw a small box. Here we want to find kind of a tan color, so you have to kind of go into the yellow oranges and find something that looks a little bit like corkboard and hit OK. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to Edit and Fill, and we're going to fill that space with the foreground color that we just selected. Now we're making this small because we're going to texturize this, and then once we pull it larger it will add to the texture as opposed to just simply paint bucketing into the whole larger space. So next we're going to go up to Filter, Texture, and Texturizer. And we're going to select Sandstone. We're going to bring our scaling all the way up to 200% and our relief to about 9 or 10. And select OK. Go to Select and Deselect, and from here Control T so that we can pull this, and again by stretching this we've made the texture much more extreme. So this looks a little bit like a corkboard. Alright, from here we're going to go ahead and add just a little bit of depth and dimension to this. So we're going to add a layer. We're going to go back to resetting this here to black and white as our two colors, and we're going to go to Filter, Render, and Clouds. Oop, and I forgot, we're going to step backward. I apologize. We're going to render this also in a small spot so that we can pull it. So my apologies. We'll go to Filter, Render, and Clouds. And from here we're going to select and deselect, and the same thing. Control T. Pull this completely across and up, and it doesn't really matter if you stretch it a little bit, and hit Enter. But now we need to blend this. So we're going to blend this using soft light. So what this is going to do is kind of give this a little bit of a worn look to it on our corkboard. Alright. At this point, what I want to do is we're going to leave this untitled one at this point, and we're going to go over to our first image. Now I have already resized these images to be at the 1000 pixels. You might want to do that with your pictures just so you don't have to Control T resize them so much when you bring them in. So from there I'm actually going to go and start creating a new action. Now if your Actions button isn't up, you go to Window and Actions and then select here to create a new action, and this one I'm going to call Borders. And from here, remember that Photoshop is going to record everything that we do, because what I'm doing to this picture, I want to then duplicate on the next 4 pictures so that I don't have to spend time doing it myself. Photoshop's going to do it for me. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do something I don't normally do, and I'm not going to duplicate this background. I'm going to change this into layer 0. Just for simplification, okay? But I cannot work on that layer unless I double click it and do that. So from here I'm going to go to the Effects tool, I'm going to go to Stroke. I'm going to select an inside stroke so you can see the border on the inside. I'm going to choose a white border, and I want the size to be rather large, about 20. Okay. Something else you're not going to be able to see right now but that you will see later when we move these pictures is the drop shadow. So we're going to go ahead and select drop shadow, and I'm actually going to change my angle here to 45 degrees. I'm just typing that in. My distance to 35, and also my size to 35 to make these rather large appearance against the backdrop. Okay, and then I want to do one more thing because this is going to save me some time. I want to duplicate this layer, and I want to duplicate it to that untitled one image, and I select OK. At this point I'm going to hit stop. I'm going to put my actions away for a second. I'm going to go to that untitled and see that this image is already here. And now I can Control T this. Don't forget to lock out my position so I don't stretch the image, and pull it, and I can place it on my corkboard at whatever size I would like it to be. So I'm going to drop that one in the center and hit enter. Now, what I want to do on the other images is I want to bring up window and actions again. I want to click on borders at the way top here, and I want to tell it to play. And boom, it is done. And when I click on Untitled 1, that image is there. So again, I Control T this, make it slightly larger, move it into position. I move on to the next one. Pinboard 3, I click on borders at the top, hit play. It has appeared. Now over here, I have saved myself probably at least 10 to 15 minutes worth of time going back and resetting all of those images. I go to number 4, hit play, go back to my Untitled 1, drag and drop, Control T, lock out, make slightly larger, maybe even twist the image a little bit. I go to Pinboard 5, hit play, and my last picture is here. Keeps appearing in the top corner wherever I choose. And from here, it's up to you. You might want to place them kind of haphazard. You may not want to have them all be exactly the same size. You may want to line them up. It's completely up to you. Okay, it's going to be your decision as far as which pictures you choose and how you put them. I do encourage you, though, that when you hit Control T on an image, that you actually hit the lockout button, so that way when you're resizing an image you don't have any issues as far as things looking stretched. Okay, so all of my pictures are placed with a nice looking border and a cool drop shadow, so it looks like they're actually attached. Now what I need to do is add the pins, and so I'm going to create a new layer. I'm going to choose the elliptical marquee tool, and I'm going to draw a circle, which might be a little bit light and difficult for you to see at this point. But first I'm going to go in and I'm going to choose kind of a goldish yellow color. Okay. And hit OK. And then for my background color, or we're going to make a gradient of this, we want to go in and choose a slightly darker gold color. Because then what we're going to do is we're going to go over into our gradient tool, and we are going to select the two colors that we have, and we're going to make sure that we select a radial tool here, the radial gradient. So that what I'm going to do is go from the center, I'm going to pull outward so that you can see that my gradient is there. Go to select and deselect, and it looks pretty flat. It just looks like the circle, and actually it's kind of blending into the background. So next though, what we want to do is I'm going to go to my brush tool. I'm actually going to reset my black and white, make my white on top, and wow, this is much too large of a brush at this point for what I want to do. I literally want to just dab a little bit on there to kind of give it a shine. And so actually that's a little too big, so let's do that a little gentler. Good. I'm going to go up to Filter and Blur and Gaussian Blur, and I'm going to pick 5.5 pixels for that and select OK, so that it blends my gradient just a little bit better there. Alright, now I want to add a quick drop shadow to this to make it pop a little bit, and I also want to add a basic bevel and emboss. Notice that I haven't really played around with any of the settings. It's kind of up to you to do that. So now it looks and appears that I have my buttons selected here. Now, wow, I need 2 for each of these, and it seems like, well, good grief, I'm going to have to make 20 copies of layers and move them all in the right spot. There is a shortcut key. If you go to your Move tool and you hold down the Alt key, watch my arrow change. It changes to like a double arrow, and watch me click and drag this, and click and drag again, and click and drag again, until I get to all the spots that I want it into. Again, I'm just holding down the Alt key, and what it's doing is it is creating all of those layers, but it's doing it for you instead of you having to duplicate it and move it everywhere. Okay, so you would continue and complete all the buttons the way that you would like it. And the last thing that I want you to do is just add some kind of text. So go to your text tool. You can select any text and size that seems appropriate for what you're working on, and just kind of give this a theme. And for us, the theme here, I'm going to try and switch this to black. Florida with Nana and Papa. Okay, and perhaps I want to make that a little bit larger. Maybe I want to kind of center it a little bit. And again, I can add a stroke effect of my choosing. I could add a drop shadow as well, or any other kind of element that I might want to do. So that is a very simple pin board activity. I would like you to create your own backdrop. I would like you to create your own pins, and if you'd like to try different colors or things that might work a little better, and select 5 pictures of your own. Good luck!